Let's talk about some more triangle theories. Okay, so here's some vocabulary that we need to talk about. Vertical angle theorem. Vertical angle theorem is when two triangles or two lines really create an X. Okay, and what it means is the opposite angles. So this angle on the top and this angle in the bottom are going to be equal, and the angles that are across from each other on the horizontal side are also going to be equal. Okay, so that helps us a lot. Supplementary angles are angles whose sum is 180 degrees. Okay, so again, that's a straight line. Straight lines are 180 degrees. And then complementary angles are angles that add up to 90 degrees. A lot of people mix these two up, so just make sure you are keeping all this vocabulary straight. Okay, so in this example, we have some intersecting lines here. And let's just talk about this example from that vocabulary. Okay, so here are some intersecting lines. We know that 2 is going to be equal to 4. And we know that 1 is going to be equal to 3. Now, how do we know that? Because those are vertical angles. Okay, so if 1 is going to be 3x plus 14, so I'm just going to write it in, and angle 2 is 9x plus 22, let's talk about, they want us to find angles 3 and 4. Whoops, I put that in the wrong spot. Angle 1 is 3x plus 14. Okay, so we are trying to find angles 3 and 4. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so looking here, angles 2 is equal to angle 4 is not going to help us because angle 4 is something that we're missing. And same thing, angle 1 is equal to angle 3 is not going to help us. What's actually going to help us is angle 1 and 2. And if you see this, angle 1 and 2 is creating a straight line. So if we do 1 plus 2, that's going to equal 180 degrees because it's a pair of supplementary angles. So that's what we're going to do. That's what our math is going to be. So we have 3x plus 14 plus 9x plus 22. That's going to equal 180 degrees. So to solve this, I'm going to combine my terms. I get 12x plus 36 is equal to 180. So I'm going to I'm going to subtract 36. I get 144. Divide by 12, and I get x is equal to 12. Okay, so I get x is equal to 12. However, that's not my answer, obviously, because it wanted us to find angle 3 and angle 4. Well, this is kind of where this comes in, okay? We know angle 2 and angle 4 are congruent, so I'm going to use angle 2, which is 9x, which x is 12, plus 22, and I'm going to solve for that. So 9 times 12 plus 22 is 130. So I know that angle 2 is 130, but I also know angle 4 is 130. So angle 4 is equal to 130 degrees. And angle 3 is equal to angle 1, so we're going to plug in x for angle 1. And we get 50. So angle 3 is going to be 50 degrees. Okay, now here's some vocabulary. Interior angles lie in between. Interior angles, again, interior means in. It has the word in right in there. So interior angles would be 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. The exterior angles are the angles that are outside. So again, that would be like 1 and 2 and 7 and 8. And then a transversal is a line that just intersects. So this right here would just be a transversal. And it's creating all of these different angles. So we also have some corresponding angles. And corresponding angles mean they're in the same spot. Okay, so basically, if I pick up this little section off and I put it on this section, it's saying what is in the same position. So angle 1 and angle 5, so this angle and this angle, those are in the same position. So those are called corresponding angles. And then angle 2 and angle 6 are corresponding angles, 3 and 7, and then finally 4 and 8 are corresponding. Again, they're corresponding because they're in that same position if I picked this up and moved it. Okay, alternate interior angle theorem is something that is super important to know. It comes up a lot. Okay, I call these the Z angles. All right, so basically, if you make some sort of Z, now this isn't like a perfect Z, obviously, but the alternate interior angles, so alternate means opposite, are going to be what is inside of the Z. So 3 and 6 are alternate interior angles. Those are congruent angles. And then if we made a Z going the other way, which is totally possible, we would have our alternate interior angles for this, the insides would be 4 and 5. So those angles would also be congruent. But it's important to know that 3 and 6 is not the same as 4 and 5. Okay, so when I'm solving for these things, I'm using some theorems here. So I like to color code them or use a different color or shape for these. So we're going to use a bunch of theorems to kind of color code our angles. So I know this angle is going to be congruent to this angle. Now, why are these two congruent? Because they're vertical angles, okay? They're opposites of each other on that X. I know this angle is going to be congruent to this angle because they are corresponding. They're in the same position. And know this angle is going to be congruent to this angle because, again, there's some vertical angles, there's corresponding angles. All of these angles in the blue are going to be the same measure. And then I have these angles. Now this angle is going to be congruent to this angle because it's vertical angles. This angle is going to be congruent to the bottom because it's corresponding. And then this angle is going to be congruent to that angle because they are vertical angles. Again, they're also corresponding. A lot of different vocabulary here. So what do we do to solve problems here? So if they're the same color, we set equal. So green is equal to green. Filled in blue is going to be set equal to filled in blue. Okay. Now, if they are different colors, let's look and see. Now, if we have a set of different colors right here, okay, these different colors are making a straight line. And straight lines, we know, are going to equal 180 degrees. And they equal 180 degrees because they are supplementary angles, okay? So we're going to take our different colors, we're going to add them together, and it's going to be equal to 180. So this right here is, I like to use this as my cheat sheet, and you might want to write this down to have. Okay, so if we have a problem like this, it says angle 1 is going to be 3x plus 15. Angle 2 is going to be 2x plus 55. And angle 3 is going to be 4y plus 9. Okay. Now, I like to label my triangles with color. I like to color code. So I know that this angle is going to be congruent to this angle. This angle is going to be congruent to this angle. It's a pattern. This is congruent to this, and this is congruent to this. And then, again, if you don't have colors, you can use different shapes, like stars and squares, or circles and squares, or open circles and closed circles. Those help a lot too. Okay, so then what I like to do is I like to kind of just like circle with my color. So I have angle 2 is going to be red, and angle 1 is blue, and angle 3 is blue. Okay, so I'm getting that from my color coding. So what does this mean? It means that angle 1 is equal to angle 3. It also means that angle 1 plus angle 2 is going to be equal to 180. Again, I'm getting this from that cheat sheet that we just made. Angle 1 and angle 3 are the same color. Angle 2 and angle 1 are different colors. And then we're just going to use this information to solve. So I'm going to add 1 and 2 together to equal 180. Now, why am I going to do that? Because angle 3 has a y in it. And if I put something with a y in there, it's not going to help me because I'm going to have two different variables that I don't know the value of. It's not going to help. So I have 3x plus 15 plus 2x plus 55. That's going to equal 180. Just going to distribute that really quickly. 3x plus 45 plus 2x plus 55 is equal to 180. That's 180, not 188. And then combine my terms. 5x plus 100 is equal to 180. Subtract 100. 5x is equal to 80. Divide by 5. And I get x is equal to 16. Okay. Now, if x is equal to 16, it wants us to find the measures of the unknown angles and the value of x and y. Well, here's the value of x. Okay, so let's start finding the values of the unknown angles. So angle 1 is going to be 3 times 16 plus 15. So 16 plus 15 is 31 times 3 is 93. So angle 1, all the blues actually, is going to be 93. So I'm actually going to just write them in where the blues are. 93, 93, 93, 93. Okay. Now for the reds, angle 2, I'm going to plug in 16 for that. So 2 times 16 is 32, plus 55 is 87. So again, 87, 87. All of my reds are 87. Okay. So now that we know all of the missing angles, we know x is 16, what we need to do is find y. Okay. Remember, 1 and 3 are congruent, and angle 1 is 93. So I'm going to take this 4y plus 9. I'm going to set it equal to 93. So I'm going to subtract 9. So I get 4y is equal to 84. Divide by 4. And I get y is equal to 21.